you've got 9 pieces of primal advice for athletes. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs could live this way too, and still like be better entrepreneurs, be more productive, have better relationships, be sharper, all these different things.
And I think everything you do to be a better athlete makes you a better entrepreneur.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you talk about adequate sleep, and this is something I've been talking about a lot lately on my podcast and bringing out different sleep experts. But why, just to emphasize, is sleep important for you?
I mean, sleep is when the body renews and regenerates, repairs itself. It's when a lot of the neural networking happens. To overlook sleep and to think, well, I can sleep when I'm dead. Well, that just is such faulty logic.
Yeah.
It's so critical and so important. I try to get 8 hours a night myself. If I get less than 6 for some reason, I feel it. I know it. I try to make up for it. I try not to let that happen. I try not to schedule late nights because I wake up at the same time pretty much every morning. So if
6 a.m. wake up or?
Yeah, 6:30, 6 a.m., 6:30. But if I were to go to bed at 1, I'd still wake up at my normal time.
Yeah.
And so I have to really force myself to, not force myself because I'm tired at the end of the day. And I have this whole wind down process.
What is that?
So my wife and I will watch we'll do some television after dinner. We'll catch up on, we'll do some binge watching, catching up of whatever the latest series was. But around 10, we'll break. I have a pool in my backyard and a jacuzzi. So I go into the pool's unheated. So in the wintertime, it might be in the 50s.
Wow.
I'll walk into the pool and hang out there for a couple of minutes and get really, really cold, but not to the point of shivering. It's kind of a process in and of itself. Then I'll get in the jacuzzi. So my wife and I'll hang out in the jacuzzi. We'll just recap what the day's events were. It's very we turn off all the lights in the house. We have a fire pit out there, so there's a real sort of a primal caveman kind of thing to that. Then I'll just finish off with another minute in the cold, and towel off and go up to bed. And I sleep like a baby as a result of that.
Wow,
so
that's hot cold therapy.
Yeah, the hot cold therapy, and that's kind of how I wind my day down, and that prepares me to sleep, brings my body temperature down, which is they say that you should have a lower body temperature to sleep better. We keep the room around 67.
Yes.
We have blackout curtains, so it's a real cool sleeping environment.
Yes.
I
always like to keep it cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so if you do like a cold shower before bed, you think that's a good thing?
I think it's a good thing. Yeah.
It'll help you sleep better.
I think so. Try it. I mean, it can't hurt.
Okay.
Yeah.
You talk about stress and rest balance. What does that mean?
Well, there are certain stresses in your life that are unavoidable. Work stress, commuting stress,
right.
Sometimes training
Waiting
stress.
in the lobby for 45 minutes stress. Sorry.
Well, I'm more stressed about the traffic coming from
right.
Because you never know what it's going to be. It could be, I planned for 2 hours. I got here in an hour or I got here in less than an hour.
Right.
So
that's good.
Yeah. But so you have these stresses, and some of them are imagined, even though your brain thinks they're real. They don't exist. Our stress mechanisms in the body they evolved to handle true life or death situations. A tiger bearing down upon you, right. An infection that's going to kill you, a broken leg that may, whatever, have its impact on you. Not, am I going to miss my kid's rehearsal, or am I going to be late for work or whatever? Those cause stress, but they're not life threatening, and yet the brain sees them as life threatening. So the message here is that you sort of have to identify stresses and then appropriately orchestrate certain rest and recovery. Now, we talked about this before the show, that meditation is a form of rest and recovery. But just taking, maybe if you need a nap, you can do that. But certainly that goes back to the whole sleep thing being critical. But the other part of rest is recognizing, if you're an athlete, recognizing when it's just inappropriate to go out and train just because your schedule says I have to go do 6 miles today. Yeah. If you wake up that day and you feel like crap and the metrics, the heart rate variability is wrong, or you're just not feeling good, then you're better off taking that day off than plowing through it and being able to write in your logbook, I got through the workout, felt like crap, but I got through the workout.
I was just rested that day.
Just rest on that, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, and the third thing you talk about is personalized schedule, and inconsistency is the key.
So in primal endurance, we go back to that philosophy that the body, is a very sort of temperamental. It's in temperamental states, back and forth. Sometimes you're in a state of energy and health, and sometimes you're not. and you can't really plan on when those states are going to be, so you have to be willing to listen to the cues. And for that reason, we say inconsistency is the key to consistent racing if you're an athlete. So it's when you feel good, you can go hard. When you don't feel good, back off. You take time off. We use the term periodicity, so you can periodize your training so that there are tranches of training days, a week at a time, where you're really going deep, hard, and then you might take a week off, or take it real easy and back off. You can break those further up into quarterly, annual segments, always with the idea that some days are going to be good, some days are going to be bad. You're going to trend toward wanting to build, to ratchet up over time, but you're okay kind of not doing stuff as hard. And so it doesn't become this linear kind of progress. It becomes more of a fractal thing that trends toward improvement.
Gotcha. The next thing you talk about is aerobic emphasis. Train slow to race fast. What does that mean?
Yeah, so this is the toughest one for current endurance athletes to really to grok. And that is a lot of athletes, and I was certainly one for 20 years, you basically go out and you train to hurt. So you run or you ride or you swim at a heart rate that's 75 to 90% of your max heart rate, and you see how long you can hold that, right? And so you're training to hurt, and it hurts.
It hurts you.
It does hurt you, but you feel tough as a result of it. But the problem is you're not really training the body to become more efficient. You're just training yourself to hurt. So when we talk about efficiency in racing, we go back to the original premise about glucose and glycogen being sort of this determining factor in muscle tissue. When you run out of glycogen, you sort of hit the wall. So how do you manage glycogen? Well, one way would be to eat a lot of carbohydrates and drink a lot of gels during the race. The other would be to become so good at burning fat that you never really tap into that glycogen.
Interesting.
So we train you to become so good at burning fat. Now, that's the 80% that we talked about with the diet. But the other part of that for the endurance athlete is if you train at a low enough heart rate that you are, it's typically it's 180 minus your age. So let's just say you're 40 years old. So 180 minus 40 is 140. So that's going to be your maximum heart rate. You're never in your training, you're not going to go above that. You set your watch, you set your heart monitor to give you a signal as soon as you get above 140. Now, you start out and you at that 140, maybe you can only run 13-minute miles, even though you're capable of running 7-minute miles at 175 beats a minute or whatever.
Right.
But now what we're doing is we're measuring how good you are at burning fat. And we know that at that number, 180 minus your age, that's the highest rate that you can put oxygen through your system and know that you're burning mostly fat. And
really?
We know that because that's the pace at which you could breathe. You could close your mouth and breathe through your nose and get plenty of oxygen. Or that's the pace at which you could be with a training partner and talk without losing your breath. Once you start losing or having to catch up or having to get winded, we know that you're going into burning. You're building up lactic acid.
You're not burning fat.
You're not burning fat, or you're burning less fat and starting to burn more sugar. So we want you to be at the highest end of your fat burning without tapping into your sort of glycolytic abilities. And we know that number to be generally around 180 minus your age. So now the idea is you go out and you train, and the first day you go out, you're running 13-minute miles, and that's as fast as you can go without the heart rate, bumping up to over 140. Well, you're not very good at burning fat. You might be good at burning sugar. Like I say, you might be able to run 7-minute miles or 6-minute miles.
Right.
So, but over time, if you stay at that at that maximum heart rate which is low, much lower than you're used to, you find yourself running 12-minute miles, and then 11-minute miles, and then 10:30s and 10 and 9:30s. And what it means is, even though the heart rate hasn't changed, you're still putting the same amount of oxygen through. Now you're burning more fat. So you're becoming more efficient at burning fat. So that when you do decide to ramp up and throw in the interval training and the weight stuff that we have you do in the gym, now you're starting from a baseline of being a much better fat burner than everyone else around you.
So just so I wrap my head around this, is your heart rate dictating how much fat you can burn based on how?
No. So your heart rate is dictating how much oxygen you're putting through your system, and it's because it's delivering oxygen to the muscles, and the muscles are using oxygen to burn fat. They can burn glycogen or glucose with oxygen, but they also burn without oxygen.
Okay.
So like you could run a 100-meter sprint with your nose plugged, and there's no oxygen involved. It's
fine.
all you'd still want to
breathe.
You'd want to breathe at the end of it, but and you'd have to breathe to recover, to recycle. But you don't need that oxygen to burn that full amount.
Gotcha.
So when we train the body to become more efficient at burning fat, and by the way, the heart. It's interesting. The heart. We're not training the heart to be stronger. The heart's already pretty strong. So the heart doesn't get stronger. The heart doesn't have a PR, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? It does. It does what it does. But what happens is you become more efficient with the materials that the heart gives you. So if the heart is pumping oxygen, X amount of oxygen, and you're not good at burning fat, you can't do anything with that oxygen. But the better you are at burning fat, the more you can use that oxygen and burn the fat in the mitochondria and avoid having to go into that glycogen storage situation.
Okay.
All right. So it's really about training you to become more efficient at burning fat.
Gotcha.
Not forever, but it's certainly through the base building phase.
Okay.
And that's just a huge hurdle for a lot of endurance athletes to overcome, because they go, wait a minute, I can already run 7-minute miles. Why am I dropping down to 13s? But invariably and across the board, we see if they stick to this for weeks at a time, they become more and more efficient. So now we know that now you're running 7-minute, 30-second miles, and you're getting 92% of your energy from fat.
Wow.
So that when you do decide to run those 6-minute miles, now you're starting from having burned more fat, and you don't have to use as much glycogen to get there.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Structured intensity. What does this mean?
It means partly means you've got to go into the gym and do some heavy lifting.
Yes,
but not a lot.
Okay.
And
this is if you want to be an endurance athlete.
If you want, even if you want to be an endurance athlete, one thing that athletes used to avoid like the plague was the gym.
Right.
They would, or if they went, they would do 50 repetitions of a light weight, because they're thinking, well, when I'm running a marathon, I'm running 3,000 repetitions of a leg turnover. So why don't I simulate that in the?
But you're saying lifting some weights is going to be key to your endurance as well.
So what happens in any long endurance contest, in addition to running out of fuel, is you run out your power decreases, because you haven't trained the power. An example would be, you've got 3 hills to climb in a bike race. The first one, you go up with 100% of your power. The second one, even though you have energy, your muscle fibers they've been exhausted, and they haven't trained to sustain your power. So now you go up the second hill at 82% of your max power, and you might go up the third hill at 65% of your max power. Well, if we could train those muscle fibers deeper and deeper to sustain power for those efforts that require actual power, we can maybe go up that first hill at 100 and go up that second hill at 100 and that third hill at 95.
Right.
So we do this work in the gym where you load muscle fibers up with fairly heavy weights. It's typically 80% of your 1 rep max, and we do sequential repetitions with sequential rest in between. So it's not like you do 3 sets of 5 and you stop. It's like you do 3 repetitions, rest 10 seconds, 3 repetitions, rest 10 seconds, 2 repetitions, rest 10 seconds, rest 20 seconds, and until you can't finish 1 good rep, and then the workout's over. So it's not, you just did 1 set, and it might have comprised 200 repetitions.
Right.
But that maximally loaded the fibers deeper and deeper and gave you this ability to sustain power.
Gotcha. And the next thing you talk about is lifestyle practices. What do you mean by that?
Well, so now we talk about everything else but the training. So if you're, it's spending time with your family, it's playing games with your, playing frisbee with your dog,
yes,
playing ultimate with your friends. It's it's all of the other things that make life enjoyable. That as an endurance athlete, I know I used to go, well, I can't afford to do that. I might get injured, or I might,
right.
I can't go skiing because I might twist a knee. Well, if you do the training right and you spend that time in the gym, you're less likely to twist a knee skiing than if you were, than if you were just going to the slopes without having done any training at all.
Sure.
Right. So we want people to have a full life, because training for endurance contests should be preparation for an undertaking that you would not want to encounter on a daily basis. You want to wake up in the morning and go, I got that 10K today. I got to go clean out my GI tract. I'm so nervous, right. But you want to be that nervous because you want to put it all on the line that day. Yeah. What we're saying is, don't put it all on the line every day in your training. Have fun. Do the right sort of training that builds this beast. That when you get to the race, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to have fun. You're going to perform probably better than if you'd done the old paradigm of training.
Right.
But you'll have lived a life in the interim. I mean, so many of my, ex-triathlete marathon buddies, couldn't have a relationship. It was just, imagine.
They put all their energy in this one thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the wife says, can't you stay home and cuddle, on Saturday morning? And the husband goes, no, I got a 100-mile ride I got to do.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go, run after that. And then I'm going to take a nap because I'm going to feel like crap because I did so much. So we try to look at the life in general and say, well, an awesome life includes participating in these events.
Participating in life.
And doing well, but it also includes participating in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not to the exclusion of all of everything else.
What feedback would you give an entrepreneur listening or someone with a busy schedule about how to live this lifestyle? They want to be a primal athlete in their daily life, but they also want to run a business, and they're spending a lot of time and energy into this one thing.
Yeah.
Maybe their entrepreneur life is like this marathon life that we're talking about, where they put all their energy into this one thing and they're not doing anything else.
Yep.
What would you suggest? You're doing it. You've got the healthy lifestyle, and you're running a multi-million-dollar business, multiple of them. What would you suggest to them?
So, there are ways to have it all, and but you can't be like the best endurance athlete in the world and a really successful entrepreneur. So you got to choose how much of the endurance athlete you want to be. I would suggest that for me, the best choice was I want to toe the starting line with the least amount of training possible to still kick 90% of the field's ass, right? So for me, the goal is almost how little can I get away with
to get the maximum
result. Without having to go, okay, because if it's going to take 20% of the effort to get 80% of the result, I'm not willing to put in the other 80% to win the thing anymore, and maybe I won't even win the thing because maybe I'll have overtrained. So now you're back to the entrepreneur / endurance athlete. Get a stand-up desk and a tread desk. So I have a treadmill. Every one of my employees has a treadmill at their at their work. Now I don't force them to use it, so
they can,
but they can. They request it. I give it to them. So you can put in 8 miles walking easily, and no one on the phone or even on the Skype will know that you're walking.
Yes.
Because you can make it uphill, whatever. Take frequent breaks and drop and do some push-ups or some air squats. What I do is I like to go for a paddle, and I'll bring a recording device on a stand-up paddleboard, and if I get my great ideas when I'm paddling, so I'll just record my ideas. Right, or I don't
fall in.
Well, it's a plastic bag. By the way, I almost never fall in.
That's
so
good.
I typically will paddle for an hour and a half. I'll step on, get wet up to my calves, and step off, wet up to my calves. But the other thing is hiking. So if you want to do some serious hiking, bring a headset and your phone. Make business calls while you're hiking. I got a friend who's basically a billionaire, and that's where he makes most of his business calls.
Wow.
He does 2 hours of hiking a day. Nobody knows that he's hiking. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Awesome.
And then so the grunt work you do in the gym takes almost no time. It's not like you have to spend an hour in the gym doing any of this stuff. Like I said, that maximum sustained power workout I just described is basically a short warm up, maybe 10 minutes of doing it, and then you're done. And if you could do it in 2 days later or 3 days later, you didn't do it hard enough that day, right?
Gotcha.
So we want you to take a week to recover from that specific work. Doesn't mean you can't go walk the next day or do anything else the next day, but you just wouldn't want to repeat, a heavy leg day the next day.
Right, exactly.
So it's how this is the sort of orchestrated structural components to this thing where when you put it all together, you can have it all. You can be an effective, efficient entrepreneur, and you can compete against all of those other guys who are claiming they're going to kick your ass in the 10K or the Spartan race or whatever it is.
Right. I love that. And we talked about the diet already, but the last thing is proper recovery. So how much, when do you know you're overtraining?
Well, so there are all sorts of metrics. I mean, you just wake up in the morning, and if you haven't slept well and you're sore, then you're probably overtraining.
Should we not feel that soreness at all?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's appropriate to feel. You can feel it on a day-to-day basis, but not on a week-to-week basis. So you can feel sore after a workout today, yesterday, or 2 days ago. But I think if you're still feeling sore for days on end, then you're probably linking together too many hard workouts, or you might have overreached on one of your workouts. So that's one indicator. We have a metric that we use called heart rate variability, HRV, and you can buy these apps that measure the time between heartbeats. And you'd think that you'd want to see a metronomic beat, like an exact amount of time spaced between each heartbeat. But it turns out that that's an indication of overtraining. Okay. That, in fact, we want the heart to be beating almost in demand to whatever is being called upon in real time. So there might be a 0.8 second skip, and then a 1.1 second skip, and then a 1.2, and then a 0.8, and then a 0.9. Okay. And that's heart rate variability. And if you've got a good heart rate variability score, it's probably a good indicator that you're rested and well trained and ready to go again.
If you're looking for more greatness in your life, make sure to check out this video right here. And also check out our free PDF, The 3 Secrets to Unlock the Power of Your Mind to help you change your life. Download it right here.
25% of our blood flow goes into this thinking brain, and the rest is like on stand.